And we're back with WAAAGH Day Wednesdays. Let's talk about the top 3 orc performing list, the rise of the mega armored knobs, and how the orcs had one of their harder weekends this past weekend. So like always, let's look at the stats and the facts. So right here, we like to go into faction matchup with the orcs. So we start with 929, as you can see here, up to 116, and we go by the Leviathan Mission GT pack. Right here, you can see at the top, we have a new contender for our hard matchups. You can see this number slowly getting harder and harder as Ironstorm appeared. Sorry, lower and lower, this matchup getting more difficult. It was somewhere about 46, I believe, last week, but this week, Black Templar were hitting about a 60% win rate. You can see that in our numbers that it really affected orc players and as a general as a whole. But lucky for you, Gits, I'm going to show you a list that we actually faced up against several Black Templar players. So I think orcs actually have tools for this? Yes, but I think playing Ironstorm is much easier and more direct than playing orcs in general. So the combined force of arms that Space Marines get, the efficiency, 40K as a whole does benefit shooting and such. So for out of 200 games, do I see this being the case? Yes. Do I still think orcs can win? Of course. Feel no pains, artists, nails, fight on death becomes a big factor into Black Templars, but it's definitely not an easy matchup. So we have Death Guard, as we've been seeing Death Guard, just because weird toughness. They can actually do combined fight as well because they their Plague Marines have the ability to fight quite efficiently with their crit 5s and such, and their weird characters fight first. I'm going to show you that going to this too. And their ability to stack -1 weapon skill, ballistic skill, and -1 to hit if they have Nurgling allies with them, which the efficient lists do. And their Rhino transports are super annoying. Plague Burst Crawlers, indirect, all that. Orcs hate their indirect. Speaking of, Astra Militarum still being one of our very difficult matchups. Flat damage 3, indirect, super annoying. Even little baby mortars are super annoying because we like to sit back with our grots in the back line. A lot of the time, and for the past editions, we would run these guys down, beat them up, but them being able to regen guys, them having more difficult to kill armor than ever. For us, yes, we can kill them, but the fact that they can bring back so much battle line and sentinels and weird units like that, as we expose our resources, they delete them and then they retake the board. And usually that allows them to score just enough to end up beating us. We like to go into them. We have a 1-turn game ability. So this number has been somewhere between 41 and 45, constantly up and down, but there's definitely been one of our top 3 hardest matchups. Eldar, this is just if you've played them before, if you haven't, they're really hard. A lot of really good players play into them. Orcs have actually a lot of tools to beat them because a lot of our weak units end up beating them up. But if you ever play like a meme or a fun orc list, which a lot of orc players do, they become really hard matchup because they can just really, really efficiently take out our tanks and our armor. So that can be bad. And then what I like to talk about here are the Leagues of Vultan and Tyranids. So Tyranids, people don't think of them as like a hard faction as a whole, right? They're not going out there winning a bunch of events nearly as much as orcs, but they oddly have the bright profiles between flamers that are twin link, between monsters that have damage 3, between having spore mines that can auto score for them for free. They like to put us on the back foot when they can with their Vanguard assault forces sometimes, being able to use their invasion fleet ability sometimes too, and they play in that detachment does bother us. They do have blast weapons that are really good. Their exocrines are just the perfect profile for our squigs. So weird things like that you can see. And the Norn Emissary coming out did make a difference too, being able to have a nasty feel no pain, great OC. So do we have the tools to beat them? Yes, but you can see it's definitely one of our harder matchups because right out here, out of these 6 factions, Leagues of Vultan is one of our harder factions too. Everybody else, right? Sorry, I should finish with Leagues of Vultan, but we're doing still pretty good even with that being said. But Leagues of Vultan, really strong, annoying transports that can take up the middle of the table and gunk you up. They do have the firepower to kill you. They do actually have combined force of arms. People forget that they can actually fight. They are oddly durable because they have like toughness 6 infantry. So sometimes you're not working on them efficiently with your punches. And yeah, they just do great. They have a good anti-tank. So if you bring a bunch of trucks and stuff, they can actually pop them and then use their blast weapons on their shoulder-mounted weapons and just start killing you. It's really annoying. And then you have. But look at the things we actually do good with too. Is what I wanted to show real quick before we start going into the Meta Monday and how the orcs actually were doing in there too. We're going into we have Space Wolves, Space Marines, we're still doing great into, like always. Chaos Space Marines, 54% win rate. World Eaters, 55, almost at the 56. Necron, so Necron's being so strong. Orcs still sitting at a 62% win rate, and then POW with pretty much a 62% win rate. So some of the more difficult people in the meta, some of the different factions in the meta, Orcs are doing good into. But That being said, Hero Orks as of last weekend is this number that I'm highlighting, a 48% win rate, and this is in the last 8 weeks. If I scroll up, which I did very quickly here, we have that in the last 8 weeks, Necrons are number one, sitting here with last weekend at 61, and Black Templars with that 59, almost a 60% win rate. And most of them are using, as you can see, the Iron Storm Spearhead. Oh, so you can see the Iron Storm Spearhead and the Firestorm Assault Force, which is pretty interesting that they're using that too, right? Just not what you expect all the time when you see Space Marines. So yeah, just how are Orks doing? You know, they did win a lot of events last weekend. They were doing great last weekend. This weekend, they did some good placements. So I think Orks are in a great place because 48%, yes, it's significantly worse than where it was looking at, last weekend. Some people were like, whoa, Orks 56% win rate right now. They're pretty crazy. No, I think it really is to come down to the Ork community likes to do what they like to do. And that's, something we like to talk about here in the channel. It's not exactly how Orks have to play. There's ways we prefer to play, and then there's ways that people don't care and they do whatever they want. But that being said, we'll look at the one undefeated get from this last weekend at the New Year's Knockout GT. 50 people event. Everybody showed up out of the 50 people that had the tickets, it looked like. So we had Joe Gowski. I'm sorry, buddy. I can't remember your name. I'm a literate idiot. You guys know that. Shout out to the chat. I can look at you gets in a bit. Don't worry, I'm not forget about you. Be sure to ask your questions, give your comments about the rise of the Mega Knobs, because here we are with Big Mech in Mega Armor, followed by another Big Mech in Mega Armor. Boss Snickra. Ooh, okay. I know some of you guys got excited when you seen that. What I want to know right off the get bat, if you guys know this get, or if he can answer in the comments, did he run Boss Snickra with the Commandos? Did he run him solo? Did he even consider running him solo? Are they always with the Commandos? I don't want to hear it. We have Mazrah Scrag Bag, a War Boss with Super Cyborg Body, kind of a sleeper little pick sometimes, right? And then a War Boss. Only one truck on this list, but a Battle Wagon, and then a Death Tread. Shook the whole community up. Discord was showing this out to me too. They're like, hey man, a Death Tread, yeah. I know Brad Chester tried a Death Tread. You're looking to induce Battle Shock. You're looking to take advantage of that damage 3 from the Dread Claws. You can soak up some damage over there. Hey, I'm a Death Dread coming off the side of the board. That's where I would assume you would do with him. He moves kind of slow, and he's too easy to one-shot if you don't. One Gretchen unit. The Commandos unit that I was speaking of. 2 Mega Knob units, but as you can see, as my Discord likes to fight with me, we have the Power Claw and the custom shooter loadout, and then we also have 2 of them with twin kill saws. So which is better? What do you prefer? Nah? So then we have 2 of those, followed by the way I like to run a big unit of knobs, yet the twist with a twist on it, he has 5 of them with big choppers. So he has big choppers on 5, Power Claws on the other 5. So how do I like to run my knobs? I like to run big 10-man units of knobs, really get in there, punch whatever you have to, take advantage of the fight on death ability. But this one, using the big choppers too, you can see he's like, you know what? I'm looking for just the Orc strength here. And the Orc strength is volume of attacks and accuracy. So he's looking to be accurate, but not hitting on 4s with the Power Claws, hitting on 2s with the big choppers instead, with still a good strength that flat damage too. And then 2 units of Storm Boy. So keep this list in mind as we go forward and look at his matchups. 2 Mega Knob units, 2 big units of knobs, 1 Commando, 1 Death Dread, only 1 Grot unit, a Battle Wagon, and a truck. All right. So Mazrah Scrag Bag, of course, sneaking in there with this Mega Armored list. So let's look at the matchup for this get. For his first matchup, which he ended up getting, as you can see, he went undefeated. So he had an 83-point win into BAM! As we were just speaking of, the Black Templars coming in with the strike force of 2,000 points. We have High Marshal Hellbreak, very powerful name character, quite annoying. So a couple of abilities that he has. He adds 1 to the strength characteristics of the weapons for the models in that unit, and a successful hit roll of 5+ is a critical hit. He also has the ability in the beginning of a fight phase. He selects 1 enemy unit within an engagement range on a 2 to 3, takes D3 mortal wounds. And then on a 4 to 5, he takes 3. And then on a 6, it's D3 plus flat 3. So really odd but possible ability to just spike mortal wounds. He also fights great with flat damage 3 and then a bunch of different, like a sweep attack. Very cool. Then we have a lieutenant, good old-fashioned lieutenant, another lieutenant, an Emperor's Champion. So there you get another fighty character. A Crusader Squad for the cheap, just normal Marines. 1, 2 Black Templar Impulsors. You got to appreciate those free weapons that they get. Well, I guess you pay 5 points for them, but it feels a little free to get melted, right? Lancer, Inceptor, Land Raider, Redeemer, and then of course the Sword Brethren unit. So this is one High Marshal Hellbrick's gonna be sticking on one of these guys most likely, and just giving them more strength themselves, giving themselves more attacks. So yeah, then we have 1, 2, 3 of those very powerful units. Maybe one each gets a lieutenant, such like that, and then the Calades Assassin. So just what you expect, a very strong Black Templar unit, but he did end up going into it and winning. How do I think he would do something like this? I think being able to actually tag certain Space Marine armor with your Mega Knobs, sometimes actually being able to fight, survive little skirmishes or just a bunch of different small arms fire with the Mega Knobs might be interesting. Being able to fight in death with a big unit of knobs, being able to trade out those nasty fighting sword brethren. That way they're just not going on a stampede going forward and just fighting everybody. That's something you have to keep in mind when you end up fighting those Black Templars, boys, is your CP management greatly with Orks, but also in the armies where they have combined force of arms that they're trying to go into. You gotta reserve that CP to be able to fight in death and do unbridled carnage. You can't be wasting it. So this is a second matchup that he ended up getting a very similar score of an 84-point win going into. So again, but now he has also a Castellan on top of also having the High Marshal Hellbrick. So what does he do? This unit is able to shoot and declare a charge when it fell back. And he gives units lethal hit capability. So again, he's just putting all these different fighting characters. Then you have a Judiciar for a fighting first. Then he has an Emperor's Champion. So he has all these quadruple 4 ways to fight with super killy characters in these units. So then we have another Lancer, as we expect, an Eradicator, very cheap, nice, anti-armor. Inceptor, Infiltrator squads, a Land Raider, so just a different version. This one has the Godhammer las cannons, Orks, I don't think, and that doesn't necessarily bother Orks, but in this matchup where they have a battle wagon that could be seen as a bit annoying, he gets another one with Flamestorm cannons as the Redeemer. But here's a big brick of Sword Brethren. In the other unit, he was just running 5-man units, but he invested in the full big brick unit, and then he also has 2 small units. So this is actually less. As I was speaking of here, what am I seeing this as a factor? In this matchup, it really comes down to once he gets the Land Raiders in the mid table and he chooses to fight you, you better hope that you have the CP, the fight in death, or that you actually screen properly with what you got to get in the way of that. But then he has the Flamers, he has weapons to just clear you out. You're not coming in from deserves too easily in his backlines. So it's a very balanced, strong Black Templars list, but he was able to take that out again, having so many knobs and odd toughness. Each of these knob bricks are super tough. Each of the Mega Knobs are super tough. Having Mazrag on your list can be super annoying. So again, he put up a win into another very efficient Black Templars list. So let's see his third matchup as Joe's just stampeding through these power armored gits. And he runs into another power armored gits meta bully with the Chaos Space Marines. He has with the list called Land Raiders. Boop. Luckily for him that he's been going to Land Raiders the whole time. So he's already, on his P's and Q's with them. So he has a Chaos Lord, Master of Executions, Master of Possession. So everybody wants to play this. I'm going to put these nice cheap character in the unit, go out there and fight, which the knobs like to do. But when you have the ability to fight in death, guys, it cannot underestimate when you're managing your CP there. I know you guys love using Artist Nails. There might be a turn where you think ahead and you go, hey, some of these armies can actually get the initiative on me. I might actually end up reserving CCP right now, holding on to that Artist Nails, riding the dice, and then now you're fighting death. That actually matters early game. You can't always rely on your Grok getting you CP, especially this list. We only had 1. So, and we don't know what secondaries he was doing. So we have Cultist Mob. Sorry, I got a little ramp stampede. We have a Cultist Mob, Land Raider, Rhino. He has the mark of Nurgle, so he can be anti-defense of shooting. Sorry, he's, they get built-in abilities with that they can access. So we have the Soul Shatter Las Cannon. So these are 3 of them. Ooh, so my boy's going thick with the Las Cannons. But having that many, not too efficient not too bothersome for Orks. We do dislike it for the battle wagon, but other than that, you're like, Chosen, Forge Fiend, Raptor. And so with the fact that he brought, think about this, each one of these armies that we've been showing has 3, we'll say roughly 3 big killy running into you bricks. But our Orc player here has 4 actually, not including his Magrogs sitting in the bank, right? Because he has 2 of the knobs, 2 of the Mega Knobs, and then he also has his handy daddy Mazrog Scrag Bag sitting in the back line. Sorry, we're looking at his list. And even though you're looking at these Mega Armored Knobs and they're like, hey, we're great for anti-armored shooting, right? All those las cannons can go into these guys, not efficiently pick them up. You might be able to draw some fire into these Mega Armored knobs by peeking their tail out, letting someone shoot at them. We also have the commandos being able to come in and get in the way of all those land raiders and not being overwatched by getting in the way. So, and then obviously the death tread. So it's funny because each of these armies, they look very killy guys, but as you're an orc player, keep in mind, especially if you're a new one, you should be having more activations when it comes to your skirmishes. Who's going to win? Some storm boys or some cultist mobs? Cultists sometimes can punch, but storm boys, if they get the initiative, they get punch out on them. If they have to, the bikers can. I'm not saying go out there and fight with them, guys. Score with your storm boys. I'm saying when the game starts breaking down and you start getting skirmishes and fights all over the table, and you're fighting in death and taking out their your Death Star versus Death Star, you start realizing that, hey, what's left over, even this diminished unit of hurt knobs of 2-3 knobs and a war boss can run up and still punch out things all over the place. And that's what throws these matchups versus power armor gets over the top when you can fit a certain amount of killy units in this orc matchup. So I really love to see how he has utility, board control with his mandos, and all these ability to fight these Death Star matchups and actually just trade out, continue momentum, score very well. So here in this fourth matchup, he's going into T-Sons. So he has Armon on disc, Exalted Sorcerer on disc, Infernal Master, Magnus to Red, Thousand Sun Sorcerer. Thousand Suns haven't changed much since the data slate, so they're probably going to have like 20 Marines, maybe 30. So you have one unit of 5 Marines with Warp Flamers, another unit, 2, 3, 4. So 20 Marines, just broken up into small units with Flamers. Only one Rhino, Vortex Beast, we have Cultists, we have Zangos, so you can try to play the mission, and then Blue Scribe. So yes, they can go out and they can just try to annihilate the knobs. They can just try to annihilate Throttle, maybe try to bully with Magnus. But really, as we've seen on this list, he does have tools to deal with anything that's Death Star. He's going to survive, possibly survive some small arms fire. He has his weird, feel no pains from Maz in there. So it becomes just very, very overwhelming for some T-Sun players when they go into Orks, even though they're still not a easy matchup by any means. And last, but certainly not least, he goes into Death Guard, which is what I see as one of our hard matchups, not just statistically, but when you think of it conceptually with this kind of list, you can see where it gets difficult with being a Rhino Rush kind of list as we look into it. So we have a Biologist Putrefier. So Biologist Putrefier is very common on most Death Guard lists you're going to see, especially from how cheap he is. So he gives you the free ability to throw a grenade on top of already throwing a grenade. So you could have used a CP on doing it, and then you can tell the unit to do it again. So he allows you to do it for free, even if you've already targeted it, used a unit and targeted somebody with that strat. And then he also gives you critical 5s, are 5s on crits. Sorry. So that he gives you 2 different abilities, and the Foul Blight Spawn gives you the ability to fight first. Yeah, he can actually attach to the same unit that already has a leader. So you can stick both of these guys in one unit, get both of their capabilities in your on your Plague Marine squad for 100 points. So let's see, we got 2 Plague Marine squads with some of their weapons, and then we have 2 big bricks of Plague Marines. What we consider big bricks of 10-man units of Plague Marines. Of course, they're going to get one of each in here. So that's where the big fight first guy is sitting. Then we have 1, 2, 3 Rhinos, and then 3 Plague Burst Crawlers. But of course, let us not forget, the really diesel few on these Death Guard lists are their allies, because this is how they compound the -1 weapon skill, -1 ballistic skill with a -1 to hit, because that's where the Nurglings come into play. And then you have the Brigands getting the ability to run around, throw good OC all over the place, shoot you, help you get Meltas to disembark you from your transport so that they can actually get the initiative on you. So this is actually a difficult matchup. Very fun, very awesome that we've seen this player go into 3 quite brutal matchups, and even his other matchups were very difficult. So great job to you, Joe Gwizdowski. Sorry I said your name horribly. If you see this, much love for you. When the both data slate happened initially a long time ago, and here we're coming into another data slate, but the prior one, I was saying Mega Knobs are going to make their appearance, and it looks like they have been steadily as we're getting into this next data slate, possibly this week, maybe in 2 weeks from now. I want to see if they end up getting maybe a points decrease or an increase, or maybe they don't get touched and we just see an Orc release codex. But Mega Knobs are definitely interesting and always slept on. But what I really interested to see from this list was the Snickrot and the Battle Wagon, the Mandos, all incorporated into one list, with sneaking in a Death Thread on an undefeated list. That is so impressive. I'd just love to hear from this player if he sees this. So shout out to you. Great job by giving Mega Knobs some love. Great job from being unique and using what I call the scalpel unit, yet putting big choppers on it, making it your own, and just overwhelming gets with a bunch of knobs. So great job. Here is the second list that I want to go into by Willie Papa. But before that, I'm going to look at what the chat has to say after all my ranting and excitement that I got from seeing all these knobs go hard, because I'm just no question if mega knobs are awesome. So whoa to Gifted Joe, yeah, you gets. So any of you gets in here that don't have a membership, I'm gonna see you. I'm gonna possibly call you out, not to make you feel bad because some of you guys can't collect it, but I recommend you just grab some of these memberships. Shout out to Wicked Joe. Good luck at LVO as well. To do Wicked Joe. So make sure you let us know how you're doing. Take pictures, be safe, all of that. And anybody like the Save Master and Dev Coast 83, collect those memberships, become a little runt, and then you can maybe become a boy one day. A lot of mega knob squigs in chat. That's what I like to see, boys. Yeah. Whoa. All right. And then Charlotte Luffy, Orks win late, slightly going down. Well, work in our favor, right? We did that on purpose because we some cunning gets. Did that on purpose. He said, I have one question about nega knobs. Why is 70? Because GW is going crazy. I don't think that's proper. Find a way. Well, 3D print. Something to get the way around there right now. I also think they're ugly knobs. I mean, they're ugly kits too. So kind of boring, bulky, static, and how they look. So very annoying. And you too, Airsoft Sniper, try to collect that membership from Gifted Joe. Shout out to Gifted Joe. Join on, become a boy. That being said, like and subscribe if we do good. So let's go into Willie Papa's list. We have a Beast Boss with Follow Me Lads. A Beast Boss and Squigosaur without a Wapa's Kill Chopper. Okay. A Gazgul Thraka. Yeah. Right. We just talked about Gaz this last week. I would give my opinion how I think he's totally playable. And as we see, Willie thought so too. So here he is again making an appearance on a successful GT list. We have Captain Badrock. Captain Badrock's and the Flash Gets had been making their appearance nonstop. Here is the Adwapa's Kill Chopper on the Nalbon's Magic Squig, the way I like to run it too. Some people like it on the Squigosaur. I like it on here. So this is what I thought was interesting. Our boy took a Beast Boss with Follow Me Lads and a big 20-man unit of Beast Snaggle boys. Why would he do that? You know what I think he'd do that for? I think he's really trying to take advantage of that strength 5 volume of punches. This is something that could go into a Wraith Brick or something like that on the wall and just be like, I'm just going to punch you out with volume. Hey, what's up? So he might really have just decided that, because on his own, he's punching he's more for delivering anti-vehicle, anti-monster dev wounds. But when you put that many boys with him and give him all +1 to hit, he gets fun. One truck, probably for the Flash Gets. We have 2 units of Gretchen, and then we have a Hunter rig. That's what I'm talking about. Is this a GT list that went 4-1 with a Hunter rig? We seen one last week with the Kill rig. Let somebody tell you something isn't good, and I'll tell you anything to be good with the right git leading the wall. So we have a Hunter rig, a Mega Knob with a combi weapon, and a Power Claw. So shout out to the gits that like that over the Kill Saws. I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding. So we have a big unit of Squig Hog boys, then a small unit of Squig Hog boys, and then 2 units of Storm boys. So I like the big unit Squig Hog boys. I really love putting at least one on my list, but the 3-man unit Squig Hog boys always slept on as a great skirmishing unit. If they end up getting hit with a points increase or something, I might still run them in 3-man units. So here's his list. He did pretty good. He has 5 points left over, so I'm not that good. I'm just kidding. So let's look at some of his matchups with this git. So they're more what we're used to. I was gonna say that the one thing I wanted to say is I'm assuming he put Gaz with the Mega Knobs in the big unit, but he might have run Gaz on his own like a crazy git. So I'm not sure exactly what he was doing, but I'm going to assume as I look into this that he did stick Gaz with the Mega Knobs. So if you guys know what he did different, let me know. But let's look at Willie Papa going into this first one. So his first matchup, yes, he did take a loss. No shame in that. The guy he took a loss to, he had brought an odd, interesting list. So let's take a look at this odd list. We have a mixture of some a Death Jester, a Troop Master, another Troop Master, a Solitaire, and Fugan. So here we have everybody's favorite mixture of little pointy ears. We have a Shadow Spectre, a Trope, another Troop, another Troop, another Trope, another Warp Spider unit, a Sky Weaver, a Sky Weaver, a Void Weaver, and then 5 Star Weavers. So something that Orc players are fully aware of as Orc players is we hate trying to disembark other armies because we don't have great shooting necessarily, right? Sure, the flash kits can pop one of those, maybe two of them. One of them can choose to be -1 to hit. It can throw off the math that we want to do. You know, when we pop the ammo run, can we pop 2 of these? Yeah, maybe, but these guys are fast. They're looking to get the initiative on us. They're going to have so many activations and the ability to go to do their movement shenanigans and to be effective. A very great you know, general of an Eldar army that has this many little Harlequins all over the place ever since 8th edition has been something that you have to be familiar with their rules going into it, or they can just catch you off guard because they're just going to be like, oh, I can do this now. I'm going to be on this side of the table. I'm going to move here. I'm going to activate here. I'm going to be constantly scoring with all these little minor activations. And if you bring big killy bricks, you're never going to put them into anything that's going to give you the trade that you want. I can see how this can really put you on the back foot. If you're used to, okay, I'm going to go into these big powered Space Marine lists, I'm going to go into these big killy Death Star units, and then you look and you're like, wait a second, what? There's just a bunch of little gits around here. They're flying all over the place. They're flying all over the place, bouncing off the walls, you know, scoring their points. Hey, and then you're like, oh, what happened? And you end up losing. So that's most likely what happened with Dark Eldar. I don't think that it's that you. I'm sorry, I said Dark Eldar with Eldar and the Harlequins. It's not that I don't think we can't beat them. You've seen the win rate though; it is hard, and that's one of those things. If you're not familiar with their rules and what's happening, and sometimes the mission as well, they could just overwhelm you with crazy activation and movement shenanigans. So nothing to be ashamed of there. But let's look at a second matchup. See if we can get a relatable matchup. Here we have Thousand Suns. We have Arnoldman, Infernal Master, sorry, I said that silly. Infernal Master, Magnus the Red, Thousand Suns Demon Prince, Thousand Suns Sorcerer, and then Thousand Suns Sorcerer and Terminator Armor. So there's a bit of a nuance there of a armor, Terminator Armor. 1, 2, 3 units of Marines with Warp Flamers, a Zangor unit. Okay, cool. And then 1 big brick of Scarab Occult Terminators. So we haven't seen them in a while. You know, they're pretty expensive. You know, they don't really fight in melee that real good. So it's kind of weird because you're inviting between him and Magnus as like 1,000 points. And then you have just 1 unit of spawn because you're trying to get some units in there. This is a bit of a throwback to what Thousand Suns used to do. You know, I think paying for Forge Fiends and stuff like that is just better. You know, having Rhinos and more rubrics is just better. Orks are fine with just trying to kill a big Death Star, something like that. So Willie Papa's ended up putting up 83 into him. When we have his third matchup, it's another Ork matchup. Ork on Ork, green skin madness. So let's see what the boys did. So we have a Beast Boss and Squiggle Sword, Edwappa's Kill Chopper, another Gas, so Gas on Gas matchup, Knob on Smasher Squig, and then a Knob with Wall Banner. You guys know how I feel about that, key. Love that Knob with Wall Banner. Here we have Follow Me Lads on him. Then we have Beast Snagger Boy unit, a boy, a truck, a battle wagon, a Gretchen unit, a kill rig. So kill rig on Hunter rig. What's going on here, y'all? That'd be just seeing those guys fight back and forth with each other with their rigs. That'd be hilarious. A commando unit, Ludas, mega knobs for the McGaz. Knobs in the way I like to see. Oh, never mind. Not the way I like to see it. He brought them all with big choppers. Not used to that. And then he brought them all with big choppers. And I assume this is where the knob with wall banner went. So very fun, very cheeky gear right there. Squig Hog Boys, and then a War Biker unit. So he brought the little skirmish Squig Hog Boys. Not the most, I would say, cohesive, you know, list, in my opinion, but still a solid Ork list with some solid utility. An Ork matchup still can go either way. There's actually his lowest scoring win by 1 point, but still was. Because Ork matchups is like, here's matchup of commander versus commander. What's the mission? If I hit you, you die. You pretty much get annihilated by pure volume. The one thing I would say is Swig Hog Boys can make that a more difficult matchup because being able to art his nails with something like that throws off a lot of the Ork data sheets. And then they get the volume to fight you back quite well. So we got his fourth matchup. We're going into a fun Rust Bus. So what? I'll just shatter your what you're thinking right now. He's bringing a Spaceful specific flyer that can transport. So he's going to put the Captain in Gravis armor. I think he slept on Captain's Gravis and armor is awesome. He reduces damage. I think he has it. But he definitely reduces damage and he has a good fighting profile. He doesn't have the relic on him right there for fighting better, but then he has 2 Razorbacks. So nice transport, dedicated transport, yet good fighting. Good anti-armor support. The Aggressor Squad I was telling you about with the Flamestorm, because I believe this is a Flamestorm Assault Force, by the way, so keep that in mind. Eradicator, 2 Friend Region Wolf Squads. Really love these guys. Inceptors, incursors. Okay, not sure what the incursors are all about. I mean, I know what they do, but I'm not sure if they're really going to help. Infiltrator squad, 2 infiltrator squads. Then he has Longfang for a unique version of Space Wolf Fire Support. They have their own built-in rules for a bit more utility, reliability. We have Scout, and then here's the Storm Wolf, just an odd, unusual, big flying thing with blast cannons. Flyers can catch Orc players off guard. Orc players, just be aware of, if you see a flyer, you can either assume the person is memeing, but there's a chance that he knows what he's doing and you can use the flyer to mess you up. He'll pre-measure your movement and then place the flyer right there in front of you, like where your movement will be, to stop you from getting your full movement, to hold you back and make your charges farther. So that's the one threat you have to keep in mind when you're going into flyers as an Orc player, especially because you're not going to have weapons to interact with them. So yeah, now in this last matchup, but with them like that, he most likely just kept board control, killed everything, ignored that guy because the plane doesn't have the volume to win. And then when the Gravis armor guys do drop, start playing the mission, they get killed. They have to get super close. So not the most messed up. I didn't want to. I'm not shaming that Space Wolf player. I'm just saying that's not a hard one for the Orcs all the time. And then in the fourth, certainly not least matchup, he got 100 points because you can see with that flyer, we messed up his point scoring a little bit with 70 because he could just freely go around and kill stuff the whole game. And then his last matchup, he went into Demons. So yeah, and what's funny about this Demons list is it's kind of fun because it's Khorne Demon with Be'lakor. So this army does a lot of mortal wounds. Obviously, it has great fighting. It likes to come from outflank or reserves. It likes to come in, try to get good charges on you with all these bloodletters. Be'lakor is there just to make them survive any like shooting matchups. But this again is where Orcs are like, hey, this is where Artist Nails would be very nice because they don't like to deal with that with their profiles. They don't like to deal with fighting and death. Our ability to advance and charge will mess them up. So Orcs do fine into Demons, even though they're strong. They're strong, but we just have a lot of tools that are good into them. So very, very cool to see that. Here's his list one more time. Beast Boss with Follow Me Lads with 20 gits that are attached to him. A Beast Boss and Squigosaur with no enhancements. A Gaz, Captain Badrock, and Naban Smash Scoop Edwapis Kill Chopper. Only one truck, most likely for the flash kits. And then a Hunter Rig for that big brick. A bunch of Mega Knobs with Gaz, in my opinion. A big brick of Squighog Boys, and then a small unit of Squighog Boys and the Storm Boys. So very nice list. The one thing I miss is my Knob Scalpel unit, but he decided I'm just gonna have a big unit of dudes with Gaz, and I'm gonna have a big unit of Beast Snagga Boys that could just run up and just put volume of punches into you. So that ended up seeming to look well for him. I'd love to hear about how his first matchup was so difficult, but shout out to Willie Papas because that was a good showing. Great job for the WAAAGH getting 4th place in that one. So in our third matchup, before I check chat real quick, we're gonna do the Nottingham Super Major. I understand these people. The top 4 is the top bracket. I understand that everybody likes to hear about the undefeated, but I wanted to hear about the top performing Orc player who ended up also being the top performing non-undefeated player. So at number 13, he did drop 1 game, but he has 3 100s and a 99. So he almost has 4 perfect games and then 1 loss. So I thought it was very important that we look at him. It could be very informative regardless. So yeah, so let me look at what you get to say in response. If you guys have any questions, war responses. I see you guys getting all excited. I see Airsoft Sniper has been painting. What do you guys say? Gaz can lead a unit unless on foot. Yeah. It says, question, if I have 2 units of Gretchen on 2 different objectives, so T-ties to get both, do I get 1 CP? You only gain 1 CP from that, even if both of them are successful. What do we think of War Boss plus 5 knobs with big choppers, even the War Boss? I was playing with the idea of kit bashing my War Boss and running the SWAT team. If it's a SWAT team, I could see that pulling its weight because now you just need the efficiency of the volume. So I can see that with the SWAT team for sure. If you guys don't know what a SWAT team is, where you take flash kits and knobs and you put them, or flash kits and burners, or flash kits and any kind of utility unit, put them in the same vehicle. That way you can have combined arms of force, so you can shoot and you can get out and fight with that. I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, so he responded from. Let's see. And yes, Eldar do break easy. And especially with our diminished units, they still break easy. So very good. And also given, try to collect one of them memberships if you can, you get. So let's look at Brian's list. Like we said, he did really good. So let's see what this very efficient list did. He has a Beast Boss on Squigosaur, a War Boss on Bike with Super Cyborg Body. So why did he do that? I believe it's literally to the point. He did not have 5 more points to make that a Death Killer War Trike. I'm thinking that's why he didn't do it. I think that's a sleeper pick. You know, a lot of people know the Death Killer Wartrike's really good. A War Boss on Warbike is just slightly less wounds, doesn't have the shooting profiles, you know, the flamer and such, but a way smaller base. So we have two war bosses in mega armor, with one of them having cunning but brutal. Then we have Captain Badrook and Mazrali Scragbag. What I want to point out here is no Edwampas kill chopper between 8 orc characters. Boom. Right? And no Squig Hog Boy knob on Smash Squig. So he went for just straight up War Boss on bike, double Beast Boss on Squig, Beast Boss on Squig Score, and a Mazrali Scragbag. That means you have 4 Feel No Pains, a 4+ on this list, but it's much cheaper than bringing another Beast Boss on Squigosaur. Plus, you have the speed and the smaller base of the War Boss on bike. And then he has a 2 War Boss's Mega Armor. So here we see those gets again. 5 trucks, so a different version of kind of like an orc spam, truck spam. Not necessarily orc truck spam, because the truck spam likes to bring 9 if it can, or likes to bring 5 plus a battle wagon, whatever. But this is bringing 5 trucks. I like to bring 5 trucks. I have on my list too. It feels very good. Only one of battle line, just one battle line is just straight boys. A flash kit unit, 2 10-man units of Gretchen, which is actually a lemon. I know that. And then 2 5-man units of Knobs. Here, this guy brought 2 units of 5 twin kill saws. That's what I like to see. That's how I like to see it run. And then we have 2 5-man units of Knobs with power claws. You know, we've seen this all over the place. We've seen Nathan do it. We've seen, Blake Kilton, I believe, did this. We've seen a bunch of different gits that are running just a smaller units of scalpel. So instead of bringing a big, nice, sharp scalpel to take out a big limb, maybe they're bringing out something smaller, maybe to just pull out a little organ or something, really take out the beating heart of an enemy army. So keep that in mind as we look at his matchups. So let's look at his first matchup. These first 3 games are a 100, a 100, and a 99. So pretty much 3 100. So let's look at this. First matchup, Blood Angels with a Vanguard Spearhead list. Blood Angels can be slept on. So even though they're not the most meta, usually they're diehard players. And of course, the first matchup in some events, you're going to get some weird lists. So Captain, the jump pack, Blade driven deep, a Chaplain with a jump pack, Lamardies, and then a Lieutenant with combi weapons, 3 Ballistas Dreadnoughts, Death Company with jump packs, another jump pack, Inceptors, Infiltrators, a unit of Sanguinary Guard, and then Scouts. So on this list, you notice the only 2 things that are coming out to really deal with orcs are Sanguinary Guard and the Death Company Marines. Pretty much just a big man unit. This is a 5-man unit with Thunderhammers, but just about anything in an orc army can really start to deal with those guys. You know what I'm talking about, with like skirmishing kind of units. So they are very effective when they get the initiative on you, but this is where they just would run out of steam running into an orc thing. That's what happens with Blood Angels for the most part in that kind of matchup, is they run out of steam because they only have so many Death Stars. You've seen how nasty, how many expensive that Sanguinary Guard brick was. So they just get kind of traded out too quickly. Then we have World Eaters, very competitive army as a whole. Faction, that's how I would say, as a whole. But orcs seem to have the tools to deal with them as well, as long as you're good with your screening, moving the grots up the field to kind of deal with them, stuff like that. So we have Anagron, Karn the Betrayal. You got to deal with the Karn being able to take out your characters. Lord Invocanis, World Eaters, Lord on Juggernaut with Favored by Corn, so you can try to re-roll those dice. And then the Master of Indirect Combat is like I like to call him. So Master of Execution with Berserker's Glaive. We have the Jackals with their sticky objective capability, a Corn, Berserkers. I assume this 5-man unit is for our boy Karn the Betrayer, and then the 10-man unit is to execute escort that 10-man the Master of Executions. So we have 2 Rhinos, an 8-bound unit, an exalted 8-bound unit, and then a large 6-man unit of exalted 8-bound. Very common, typical World Eaters list, no fat on it. I think when they bring Brigands, they actually get a little bit better. They really do heavily rely on can Angron come back or not. So the matchup gets significantly harder if he does, because you can end up losing your throttling capability to kill him early. If he fights on death and then he also comes back, it can become difficult. But if he doesn't, you just kind of run them over. So I don't know what happened there, but World Eaters are definitely no joke. Then we have Eldar as his third matchup. Let's see how typical this list is. We have the Artark Wayleaper with the Phoenix Gem. We have the Fugin, so with these guys can get back up. And then we have the Spirit Seer with Fate Messenger, and then Yarin Khan. 2 Night Spinner, so the young Khan can appear anywhere on the battlefield when he indirects you. Shadow Spectre, Swooping Hawk, Warp Spiders, another Warp Spider, 3 small Warp, and then the Wraithguard brick with Wraith Cannon. So I think the melee ones are more annoying for orcs But the Wraith Guard cannon, this is something that they'll look at Mazgrog and they'll be like, I'm going to annihilate you. And you're like, I guess if you feel like it, it's kind of not a concern for me. So the only thing that really bothers us is really, where is your Incarn going to appear? Don't let her appear in your backline by killing your Grots. This might be where you have to be more effective as an Orc player and understand, hey, I'm going to get reduced my movement here. But my cheap baby stuff that's going to be running around the battlefields that'd be able to kill you, like a truck running up to one of these small units and then hitting with tank shot can start picking up some of these Eldar units in a funny way as a whole. Something that Eldar hate is actually the flash kits and Captain Badrug. You start telling them, hey, I'm going to get out. Personally, this is how I like to play them. Some people bring them off from reserves, the flash kits, to keep them safe. I actually tend to put them somewhere where I want to cover a lane against Eldar. I'll disembark them from their transport, and then when Eldar start to occupy that space on their turn, I'll just overwatch them. I'll be like, here you go. I'm going to start overwatching your units and killing them. And then when I do shoot and I'm standing there, I can sometimes split my fire and actually kill 2 different Eldar units if they're exposed. So that strength 6 and just volume and sustain just becomes obnoxious because they die so easily. So that throws them on the back foot when you can do that, and we have the ability to kill the Incarn. So Orcs can do good into them. You just have to be wise as how you're playing into them. The trucks will help you for staging and hiding a little bit, but Eldar have enough movement to try to kill you. So when you do get blown up, disembark behind cover. You'll take a couple shots from indirect. They'll be slowing you down. But as a whole, keep the pressure on Eldar. Put them on the back foot. They can't combine arms into you, so they can't shoot and fight you besides the Incarn. So once that happens, you're just like, bye. And then what's this 4th matchup? Sorry, let's see this 4th matchup. Here is, because that was his 3rd, right? Make sure I didn't mess that up. Yeah, that was his 3rd matchup. Now his 4th matchup, which he did lose, which if you're been watching the channel and this is one of the Orcs' hardest matchups on paper. Astra Militarum. So he did lose his 1 game to Astra Militarum, which if you look at his score, this guy was definitely going for undefeated, top placing, trying to get 500 points flat, and he ended up dropping the Astra Militarum. So let's look at this Astra Militarum list. We have Lord Sola Leontis. So he gives you the ability to redeploy and get free CP. So we don't like to see that. A platoon command squad. The one thing I'm going to point out here is it does have like a nice little mortar, like we like to talk about. Super annoying as an Orc player to deal with a little mortar. Sorry, I'm looking over here. I want to look at his list one more and bring his list out while I go over this death card list. Then we have 2 tank commanders, Ursula Creed. So Ursula Creed, I would say Creed. Ursula Creed's a bit different, but what she can do is when she's leading a unit, she can have that unit have 2 different orders at the same time, and then she also has once per battle round, she can pick a unit within 12, and then they use a stratagem for 0 CP, even if someone's already used that stratagem. So Guard already have a great CP like access and such like that, so that's just compounding on that. We have the Catachans for their scouting, Death Cord Krieg unit. Now here is a funny little twist: 2 units of Bullgrins. Shout out to Mr. 2, always hating on them. Mr. Bullgrins are super annoying because their punching typically does nothing to a lot of different factions, but Orcs having an odd strength and -1 AP is good enough. Just punch us in the head, and that's good enough to kill a couple of our units. They reduce damage, which we really, really hate, and then they also get good armor saves with the good toughness. So having 2 Bullgrin bricks is actually a direct, hard matchup for Orcs. And you can see our war boss here had Mega Knobs, Captain Badrook, war bosses, a war boss on a bike, a beast boss, and Mazrog, and he couldn't chew through these Bullgrins effectively or efficiently. This is where something that I'd like to see, hey, maybe a gas could help you here. Not that I think it would have won him the game. I'm just saying that's where another tech piece why I choose gas, but I don't think, going forward, I'm not saying that's the answer to everything. Then we have the Khazarkin. So the Khazarkin, they're a little weird. They have a scouting 6 as well. In the command phase, they can choose an order to be effective from themselves. So pretty much give themselves an order, and then someone can give them an order too. So that's another 2 different orders on one same unit. So you have 2 different of these guys that can do that. We have 3 different units that can do this. So just getting orders to themselves, and then Ursula's giving someone 2 orders, and then blah blah blah. So everybody's getting orders. Then we have 2 Manticores with their 3 Manticores with their nice, awesome flat damage, 3 indirect. Then 2 Scout Sentinels. That way they can enhance those Manticore's indirect ability or just getting away for Orcs. We hate to see that. I think I can just see, because this is like how this list is built, this guy was a very effective player. No, you're going to see this in a matchup and be like, I don't know about that. And then you're like, oh, shoot, this guy just, what's going on here? He's effectively boxing me out. He's effectively bringing units back. He's scoring his fixed mission secondaries, and he's killing me. So interesting how he ended up dropping that list. It was a close matchup. He was a 76. And I believe, what's it again? Gets name Nassim. Ended up getting right here 89. That was the score. So it was a good game, you know, but he ended up dropping that game. No shame in that. Guard are a very difficult matchup. A lot of time people are like, swarm them, put them on their back foot. You know, if they can actually hold that Bullgren wall, score their fixed secondaries, they can shoot you back. They do have enough activations. They do have enough small arms fire. Their lack of AP normally is their weakness, and they're hitting on fours. But against Orks, you know, the lack of AP doesn't hurt them. So now let's look at his final matchup, which he ended up getting 100 points into, is again, we actually see this Khorne Demons list. So you want to get familiar with this Khorne Demons list and its weird, unique rules between the Red Master's Throne and Be'lakor. But then we have, this one actually has 2 Nurglings, some Blood Crushers, Flesh Hounds, so very similar, and then 2 Skull Cannons. So Skull Cannons, I don't think those guys are the most effective, but hey, you know, he brought them because he brought them. So great job to Brian Seep for getting almost per 4 100s and then just getting a 76, which is still a good score when you lose a game. Nothing to be ashamed of against one of Orks' hardest matchups. So great job there. You get. So that being said, let me look at some of the chats real quick before I give some of my thoughts for this WAAAGH Wednesday and what I'm going to think about this weekend. So post to easy break. All done. Easy. What do you say? Winton did leader recon LVO. It's a huge convention area. FLG is, yeah, it's a very nice area. Try to find the food locations. You know, we're going to go to the bathroom, get some chafing cream if you think you're going to chafe from walking around all day. Make sure you stay hydrated the day before and actually go to sleep, because when I went to LVO, I didn't go to sleep and I felt that first day. So a 1 CP again, game more than one. Yeah, of course. And then Wicked Joe, I don't know what you're doing with the frog, but there you are with that frog. So what do I think about this, you gits? So Orks ended up dropping their win rate, like I said, this past weekend, going down to 48%. Was that a smart decision from us? Of course, we did it on purpose. No. What it really is Ork matchups really do matter in some of these things, and Ork players as a whole don't like to play just what's strong. So our win rate's always going to kind of fluctuate because some guys might just show up and just bring whatever they want. I'll show up to an RTT sometimes, no Ork players anywhere to be found besides me and one other guy who are actually trying to do well. And then sometimes they'll show up and there'll be 5 of us, but 4 of them have non-meta lists and are, you know, they're bringing a Stompa and they're bringing Death Dreads and they're bringing Gorkanaut or whatever, and they're just doing stuff for fun. So I don't hold that too much to heart that Orks suddenly dropped that way, as a lot of other factions are looking really good right now. And we know the data slate's coming, which is going to throw the meta up on its head. I think Orks are either going to get hit lightly or not hit at all because our codex is coming out, you know, should be announced in maybe at the end of this month, you know, somewhere in the beginning of next month. So we'll talk about that on Friday. So on Friday, bring your questions, show me your list. I'm going to go over some LVO lists or players that look interesting to me that I want to kind of discuss. We'll show some hobby pictures. We'll talk about what we're going to look at going forward. Maybe I'll give some more slight predictions, you know. Am I tooting my arm and rubbing my own squig hair right now by saying that Meganobs got actually the good look towards the end of this, you know, little season that we've seen? Yeah, Meganobs are still looking good. Gaz is still looking good. Orks need the CP. You know, we really appreciate all those things. So what's going to happen once we stay taking these increases? Is GW going to hit the Squig Hog boys? Are they going to hit just Mazrog, or is the Codex going to just be announced and then all of us are going to be talking about that? So either way, Orks are looking still great, still very exciting. You've seen a bunch of different ways to play. Meganob, Squigs, Trucks. We've seen a Death Dread appear, you know, so do whatever you want to do. Build your kill rigs, build your hunter rigs from that beast box stampede. You never know what's going to happen. Make sure you guys collect those memberships if you haven't already. Shout out. Oh, again, whoa, with the 5 gifted membership. Let's go. Sorry, I was so excited and I didn't freaking, I was reading some of this stuff. I don't know how I missed that. You get, so yeah, that was, woo, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We get 5 more. Come on, you guys. I better see none of you boys not collected up in here. Some of you guys have been promoted to boys. I see you guys in the chat. Super excited to see your little boys badge in there. You guys are the first boys ever being spawned in our Great WAAAGH, you know, because if you get a membership, you start as a runt / squig. I mean, grot, then you become a squig, and then you become a boy. So, and then, you know, you become more of the things. So you'll see that going forward. To shout out to all you guys. That's pretty awesome. I appreciate you greatly, Ikoba. Always the questions. I know you already asked me that question. So yeah, I appreciate you greatly, and I'm probably saying your name dumb. So if you message me on Discord, break it down to me directly. I'd appreciate that because I feel like I'm saying your name incorrectly. And I think I had a question here I was going to look at. Hey, right here. Hey, I want to ask, what are your thoughts on Gas saying Matari take up 19 capacity space? They decided to just go for Raw, and they're saying because Gaz Gulthraka says takes up 18 space, they're not considering Gaz Gulthraka as the unit. They're considering him just his model. So instead of, there's a lot of times that the LVO, the FLG pack will go super literal on some of these rules, and it sucks, but I don't take them, personally, and I don't take it word to heart because you could find a TO anywhere and say, hey, does this make sense? And they're going to be like, no, you definitely be able to put those guys in there. So it's okay, that they feel that way. It's just Makari is a part of the Gaz Gulthraka unit, so I think it's a bit, a bit funny of an argument for them to make. But go ahead, LG, do your thing. A lot of things are raw for them. So Wicked Joe, whoa, and any of you guys getting them, Christian, I see you up in here. Whoa, make you collect that wall membership to become a grop or get. Do you think we're gonna get a Speed Freaks attachment? Hoping it gives range assault weapons assault more additional movement. Yes, I think we're going to definitely get one of those. GW's been doing a great job on giving flavor and different ways to play every one of these detachments. So I definitely see them doing something for the Speed WAAAGH, the Evil Sons WAAAGH, the waiver way you want to say it. So don't lose heart on that. If anything, we just got a bunch of time to prepare our hobby and get our stuff up. Maybe pick up some stuff on eBay that people are letting go. So never let go of any kind of way you like to play Orks, man. Always stick to what you favor, the models you like to see. The index is a small part of 40K. For the most part, we have codexes and a lot of different ways to play as Orks. So don't be discouraged if you like to do other things, collect what you want to collect. And I think the Speed WAAAGH, could be really, really, really fun. So we never know. What if they make it kind of, Space Marine-ish, right? And we get the ability, all these different abilities like auto advancing 6 and then charging and then doing all these abilities to fall back and charge. And yeah, I'd like to see them rockets, coptas, cans. I'd like to see killer cans come down to like 35 points. So stuff like that, man. I'm super excited for the codex. But all of this is a conversation for Friday. So bring your questions, your concerns, show me your lists. Let's talk about some LVO lists if you want me to point them out or talk about whatever you want it to be. Send me your hobby pictures and such. I like to show finished ones. I like to show the community and give them motivation and inspiration between the list, between the pictures, not by me, but by you itself, because it's the rise of the green tide, right? So I'm just a war boss, just like you get. All I do here is show you guys information we've all gathered, what we're seeing, give my interpretation, put my filter through, my opinion. It could be raw, you could disagree with. It doesn't really matter because we all wall our own way. And that's the best part about Orks is that we all play and collect this faction the way we love it, and the fact that we're all unique individual thinkers is why there's so many different lists that are going forward. A lot of people are like, man, Orks just run squigs or truck spam, but when you really look into it on this channel, at least, you notice that, hey, that's not true. There's a bunch of lists if you look at our video feeds and our shorter ones, not just our lives, where we're showing all these different ways that Orks have performed 4-1, 5-0 at GT level using stuff like pain bosses, knob with wall banners, battle wagons, kill rigs, hunter rigs. So that's with the index. Imagine with the codex. So with that in mind, get some ideas, get some questions. Let's talk about the codex. We might hear a data slate by then. The world might change, but either way, there's one thing you got to keep in mind is don't cross that wall because we knock your teeth out. Whoa!